Alright, kiddos, it's day number 2 of our 31 days of Horrorween celebration, and after starting off the countdown with Nosferatu, I want to kind of stay in the 1920s, keep our pre-World War II train a chugging here, and I'm going to go with a pretty obscure film for my second pick of this 31-part countdown. And it's a film from 1926, may have been released 1927, somewhere in that time frame. So it's mid-20s at the earliest. It's called The Bat, and it's a film that's really interesting because it's kind of almost a prototype for the modern-day slasher film. In fact, it pretty much has the exact same format that you'd see in a film like Friday the 13th. In the sense that you have a mysterious character who you don't really know who it is until the very end of the movie, who's picking off a certain cast of characters one by one. So obviously it's kind of going the Agatha Christie, 10 Little Indians route, which is pretty much, you know, the crucial starting point for the entire slasher subgenre. I mean, Friday the 13th, Halloween, Elm Street, all basically variations of the Agatha Christie format. So what makes this film interesting is, now I'm not really going to go out and say it's the first slasher type film or even the first proto-slasher, but it certainly has a lot of commonalities with some of the later works we're seeing. And in fact, you know, you basically take the plot of this movie and you plop it down, and it's pretty much the exact same thing that you'll see in a film like Hatchet, or a film like, I don't know, Twitch of the Death Nerve. You know, the exact same formula. And so for that, it's really interesting to kind of go back and watch this film that came out, you know, before Hitler was even in power. And it has pretty much the exact same structure that you're seeing in, you know, Scream or I Know What You Did Last Summer. So that's pretty interesting. That kind of gives you an idea of just how, I guess, time-tested and formula-proven that the slasher template actually is, as it goes back this far. So anyway, it's the film itself, you know, like I said, you know, it's a film kind of like in the same sort of oeuvre, I think, of being like Nosferatu, where I can appreciate it for its effort, I can appreciate it for being innovative, I can appreciate it for kind of setting the standard, but as an overall picture, you know, I kind of walked away a little, you know, dissatisfied with the overall product. I mean, there's some cool things in this movie. I mean, obviously, the best thing about any silent movie is, of course, the aesthetics, because you do a lot of things with black and white that, you know, you really can't do with color, even, you know, the high-def stuff we have nowadays. And obviously, you know, the pacing is kind of different from what we're used to, because it is silent. You know, they had a lot of limitations. They have to kind of do things differently as far as setting up the narrative and the structure. So, I mean, there's some interesting elements. But ultimately, you know, it still comes off as melodramatic. I mean, even melodramatic for a silent film, which is saying quite a bit. As for the general plot, there is a banker family, and like their patriarch dies, so there's a whole bunch of money, but for some reason, there's also a guy walking around dressed up like a bat who's killing everybody who's like an heir to that. So the entire thing is a whodunit. You're trying to figure out, you know, who's the guy running around, you know, knocking people off and trying to, you know, claim the money, which allegedly is the motive. I'm not really sure until the end of the movie. So it's really interesting. There's a lot of, you know, really treacherous things he does. He sets up like death traps. So, I mean, it really is going back to, you know, Saw came out in 2004, and here's a movie that came out in 1926 or 25, whenever. And it's pretty much the same movie. So you got all that going on, and I think probably the most interesting thing about the film, obviously, is the fact that it kind of all things, became sort of the origin of Batman. Like, the creator of it, the creators, you know, gotta appease the DC fans, you know, went to go see this movie and said, oh man, you know, this guy dressed up like a bat. And when I say it's inspired, I mean it is greatly inspired. There's a lot of things going on here that are clearly inspired by this movie. Like, there's the bat signal. There's like a part where he throws like a little paper mache bat on a lamp and puts it on a wall, and it pops up. And everybody knows, oh, it's the bat. He's around killing people. And that was pretty cool. You kind of see that obvious inspiration of all things in such a huge pop cultural machinery that it comes from this. And as far as the actual villain himself, it's pretty weird looking. I mean, he's running around in a cape, but like the mask he wears looks more like a rabbit than a bat. So I don't know if that makes it creepier or funnier. It's just really unusual. Very striking. I'll give him credit. That was pretty cool. But like I said, it really, the thing about this one, outside the fact that it inspired Batman, the reason you need to see it is because, I mean, you just watch this film, and it really is a slasher movie. It's the exact same pacing, the exact same chronology, the same way we're seeing, the kids do really dumb things somebody would ever do in modern slashers. They're doing them in this one. Everybody's just ignorant, and it just kind of shows you just how... venerable the entire slasher motif is. Just how long it's been around, just how little it's changed over the years. And, it's not a really, really good movie. It's just kind of like, fair to average at best. But, like I said, it's a great history lesson, a bunch of kooky stuff going on. If you're not really that well familiar with silent films, or if you've already seen the really good ones like Haxan and Phantom of the Opera, it's not a bad little film to waste an hour and a half of your day with. So The Bat, pretty entertaining film. Not a great film, but at least interesting. You won't fall asleep in it. So for that, I'm going to give it, 2 pieces of candy corn out of 4. It's all right, and it's actually a good pairing with A Man Who Laughs, the movie that inspired the Joker. So in one afternoon, you can watch 2 silent horror films and see their incredibly bizarre and unlikely influence on, the greatest, superhero, supervillain dyad in history. So there you go. That's The Bat. That's day 2. And tomorrow, we keep this train a-chugging. See you then.